Welcome to the AAMI Virtual Town Hall for our corporate members. We're delighted to have you join us today, and thank you very much. I appreciate your patience. We have to wait to have participate in another Zoom call. We certainly wish we could have done this in person, but that is we don't have that option, at least not at this time. So hopefully the next time we do a town hall, we'll get to do it in person. We're very excited to be spending the next hour with you. We have a great program lined up. And before we get started, I do just want to say that on behalf of all of AAMI, thank you for, we wanted to acknowledge and applaud you and thank you for your leadership, innovation, and adaptability this past year. As you and your companies just displayed such fortitude in the face of this pandemic and for all that you did. We really, truly are awed and inspired by you. And in the midst of it all, you continue to stay really engaged with AAMI and participating in standards and our training and education, downloading content. So we very much appreciate all your efforts. So we're going to get started in a moment. Let's see, the screen is, one moment, okay. And we've got a great program for you today, so stand by. I just wanted to introduce myself. I am Sabrina Riley, the Vice President of Membership. I know most of you by name, and I know a lot about you, but I have not met all of you in person. So again, I hope that we can rectify that sometime this year. A couple of reminders for today. If you could please kindly keep your phone muted for the duration of the event. At the end, we will have a question and answer session. So if you have questions you'd like to ask the presenters, please send them via the chat feature to me, Sabrina Riley. At the end of the town hall, we will be sending all attendees a completed question and answer document with all the questions asked and appropriate responses, as well as sending you a document that will include all the links to access the member benefits and other resources that will be mentioned on the call today. So without further ado, I would like to pass the gavel to my colleague and AAMI's acting president and CEO, Steve Campbell.
Thank you, Sabrina, and good morning, everybody. I want to echo what Sabrina said and thank you for taking the time both to meet today and also for everything you've done as part of a response to the COVID situation. We can't thank you enough. With that, let's get started. We're striving to give you practical content and make sure that we're giving you news that you can use for you and your employer. As you may have heard, AAMI's former president and CEO, Rob Jensen, retired in November. He moved from the DC area out to South Dakota, building a home, loving life, enjoying it. The executive committee of the AAMI board asked me to serve as acting president and CEO. I've been with AAMI for 20 years, and most recently in the last 6 years is AAMI's COO. As I think Sabrina would attest, I'm still 38 years old, still the same 38-year-old guy who walked in 20 years ago, even with the COVID's gray scruff that I've been donning lately. The official search for the AAMI's president and CEO will likely start this summer, once we're out of the, knock on wood, out of the COVID situation. For now, it's full steam ahead. We have a great board of directors. We have a great leadership team, many of whom you will hear from today. And we have a new strategic plan, which I'll talk about shortly. So we have all the ingredients for great success. Sabrina, next slide, please.
One moment, it seems to be glitching. 1 second, apologies.
That's all right. So I'll get going while you work out that glitch. So I'm going to talk about strategic initiatives. And in November, the AAMI board approved a new two-year strategic plan. And there are 3 goals on the plan. There they are. Community expanding and broadening our community of stakeholders, improving our operations, and increasing our emphasis on high quality standards resources, basically doing more of what we're doing to provide you with the resources you need. So behind each of these goals, there are 3 objectives, and then there are metrics that we judge ourselves and the board judges us on to ensure that we are meeting the objectives, and then numerous tactics. And so for instance, we have objectives that seek to increase our global presence. We have objectives to strengthen the healthcare technology management profession, to customize our knowledge and develop resources. So there's a lot of meat behind what you're seeing on the screen. And I'll make one final point before going to the next slide. You may already be involved in the strategic plan. Questions have come up before about how can I get engaged in the strategic plan. You're likely already taking part in the plan because a number of the tactics are committee work that feeds up through the objectives and the goals. And but we're always welcome and encourage you to get more involved, and you can contact Sabrina or myself or any of the AAMI staff for that matter to get more involved. Next slide, please, Sabrina. So with these 2 final slides, before passing the torch to my colleagues, I want to highlight some of our top priorities this year. You will hear today about new and revised standards, some that came out last year, some that are in the works. So there'll be a lot of new content for you to learn about in that regard. You will hear about our efforts to increase the speed of delivery of standards. This has been a challenge and a priority for a number of years. We've made progress, but we know we have more to do. You'll hear about new education and certification programs. We are also focusing a lot of attention on the 4 bullets I have there on the slide: cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, combination products, and home healthcare. Now these, when I say increased emphasis, I mean through the standards program, through educational programs, through our online listserv that Sabrina will talk about later, and through our publications. And in some ways, some of these are standalone efforts on those topics, and in other ways, they're built in, incorporated into, for instance, a standard. You'll also hear about a great new digital platform that will be launched this year, and it will move our publications, such as BINT, AAMI News, so forth, online on a more robust platform, easy to use, accessible, and so forth, and also our standards delivery platform. This will replace our e-subscription. So the AAMI board approved that expenditure last fall, and it's in development now and will be released later this year. Finally, on this slide, I'll point out the IT platforms, enhancement of IT platforms. So I would argue, and I think the leadership team would agree, that this is our #1 internal priority at this time. It's our #1 challenge. We initiated a number of IT projects last year. Some went really well, some less so, and we're working through a laundry list of improvements as we speak. And so we've heard the feedback on this, and it's our top priority. I should say that ultimately, and I've stated this numerous times, people are probably getting tired of me saying it, but the goal of our IT platform, there are 2 goals. One is to make sure we have an IT system that provides a simple, easy to use, seamless process for our members and our customers. And 2, we have a system that allows the organization to grow. Both those things are the ultimate goals, and then we are working to achieve those through a number of initiatives. Last slide. In the interest of time, I'll just touch on four things here. One is let's see, one is the new online, there you go, new online edition of our industrial sterilization compilation. So these are a number of peer-reviewed articles that we are issuing this spring on industrial sterilization. And this is probably our fourth or fifth edition, I guess, over the years. And they're really well received. And we work with a number of individuals from the Kilmer organization as well as others to develop those. Another item I want to point out on this slide is the awarding of scholarships, grants, and professional development awards. So AAMI has a sister organization, the AAMI Foundation, and last year we awarded $160,000 in grants, scholarships, and awards, professional development awards. So these are, for instance, scholarships for HTM students entering the profession, or grants for patient safety initiatives named after AAMI's former president, Mary Logan. And we're also launching a Kilmer scholarship and grant program this year in the sterility insurance area. So we have a number of great opportunities, and I would encourage you to go to the AAMI.org website, and at the top, the navigation bar, you'll see an AAMI Foundation link. And I also, before moving on to this, before moving on to the final two topics, I do want to thank all of you on the call and your companies for supporting the efforts in the funding over the years. And lastly, you will hear about tailoring content, which I think is really important. The diversity of our membership is our strength, but it's also a challenge when it comes to individuals looking for content on our website. So we are working to make sure you have a targeted experience. Everyone expects an Amazon experience these days, and we're working to that. And lastly, because I know I'm far out of time, is evaluating and strengthening benefits. Sabrina and her team and the whole leadership team would be doing a comprehensive look at all of our membership benefits and services. And that's where meetings like this can really come in handy, because we want your feedback about what more we can do to help you and your employer. So with that, I know I'm over a few minutes. I want to thank you all for everything and pass the torch to my colleague, Amanda Benedict, Vice President of Standards. Amanda.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Hello, everyone. As Steve said, I'm Amanda Benedict, AAMI's Vice President of Standards, and I'm very excited to be able to share with you today some information about the AAMI Standards Program and all the activity that we have going on here. We have a lot of new developments and projects underway that are of interest for your company. You can go to the next slide. Thanks. It's great to see a lot of familiar names listed as in the attendance today. And for those of you who might be less well-versed in the rich history of AAMI Standards Program, we have what I like to refer to as a mature standards development program. AAMI as an organization is a little bit more than 50 years old, and we've been developing standards since we were founded. And we've been developing standards under ANSI's auspices since 1977. And this includes both our domestic standards development program, as well as administering U.S. technical advisory groups in ISO and IEC technical committees and subcommittees. And today, AAMI is the primary source of voluntary consensus standards, both nationally and internationally, for the medical device industry. Our standards philosophy is that standards should be developed only where there is a clear need for the standard. They should be based on current technology and developed through consensus, and that they should establish performance-based requirements and avoid design specifications. We promote the concept of one product, one standard, and one test worldwide. And AAMI currently has under our purview more than 230 technical committees across our national and international programs, and thousands of volunteers around the world working on the development of voluntary consensus standards for health technology. So we can go to the next slide. So 2020, what a year. A lot of us did things a little bit differently in 2020 due to COVID-19, but it was a considerably productive year for AAMI standards, and I'm very proud to announce that we pressed on and we published 34 new or revised documents. And we started up a number of new projects and new consensus bodies. And one of our biggest accomplishments, and I suspect that many of you were engaged in this, is that we convened somewhere around 200 consensus body meetings, most of which were completely virtual and some of which we had to pivot very quickly from a planned in-person meeting to a fully virtual meeting. So there was a slightly different look to the meetings, a different set of meeting conduct and etiquette, but some tremendous benefits to going fully virtual. Among them, that we were able to introduce a lot of new standards professionals to standards development meetings and the standards development process, since there wasn't a costly barrier to traveling to attend in-person meetings. So technology can be a tremendously useful tool in the standards development process. We can go on to the next slide. What's new in, one more back. What's new in AAMI standards that should be on your radar? We have a number of new and refocused initiatives, so I'm going to briefly highlight those. Growing out of the AAMI and British Standards Institution joint initiative in a recently published white paper on artificial intelligence and machine learning, we have just created the AAMI Artificial Intelligence Committee. And this group has already had their kickoff meeting, and they're starting to make progress on their work. Within AAMI's Combination Products Committee, we recently published a new technical information report, AAMI TIR 105, Risk Management Guidance for Combination Products. And we just completed also a survey of stakeholders to determine standards and education needs in the combination products area. We're also about to get fully underway a joint AAMI and American Dental Association project on steam sterilization in dental practices. And the intent of this project is to take the content that's in ANSI ST 79, Comprehensive Guide to Steam Sterilization and Sterility Assurance in Healthcare Facilities, pull out the guidance in that document that's really relevant for dental facilities, and add guidance to it that is specifically relevant for that particular application. We also have a new consensus report underway for compliant use of cloud computing for quality systems and medical devices, and that's within our Quality Management Committee. I also want to point out that last year we developed a number of resources to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. We were able to develop a number of, actually 10 emergency guidance consensus reports using our new consensus report development process. So we were able to very quickly get this guidance out that supported ventilator and resuscitator equipment and the FDA emergency use authorization. We also made 2 of our existing technical information reports and standard publicly available to help healthcare facilities in particular and manufacturers of PPE quickly respond to the pandemic. And we hosted several webinars, and those that had a standards focus touched a lot on our sterilization and decontamination processes and guidance that existed for that. I also want to highlight 2 new publications, both of which are national adoptions of ISO technical reports. We have AAMI ISO TIR 24971, Medical Devices, Guidance on the Application of ISO 14971, which many of you recognize as a foundational document, and AAMI ISO TIR 20416, which is Medical Devices, Post-Market Surveillance for Manufacturers, so both of which published in 2020. So if we can go to the next slide, we already have a lot of activity underway for 2021, and I'll highlight some of the projects that are likely to be of interest to you and your company. We're developing a new standard. It's actually an elevation of TIR 30, and this standard will specify requirements for development and validation of a cleaning process for medical devices. This document has already had 2 committee draft votes. It is going to go to a 3rd committee draft vote, so there's still time to get involved and add your voice to it if you're not currently engaged in that one. We also have a revision of AAMI HE 75, Human Factors Engineering, Design of Medical Devices underway. This document also has had 2 committee draft votes. The committee is still working through the comments from the 2nd committee draft vote, and it's quite possible that it'll go to a 3rd committee draft vote. So again, plenty of time to be involved. We are also working on a revision of AAMI PB 70. This is liquid barrier performance and classification of protective apparel and drapes intended for use in healthcare facilities. So it specifies level of gowns. And this document is going to be published very soon. Also under development, we have AAMI TIR 109. This is a document that will provide guidance for external transport of medical devices processed by healthcare facilities. So it's going to be useful to the user community, those who are doing sterile processing in healthcare facilities, but also has interest for the packaging community as well. AAMI EQ 103 under development in our Medical Equipment Management Committee, Alternative Equipment Maintenance and Healthcare Delivery Organization. It's still in the early stages. We're also working on a revision of AAMI HIT 1000 Part 1, Health IT Software and Systems, Part 1, Fundamental Concepts and Principles, and a new standard, AAMI SW 96, Medical Devices, Application of Security Risk Management to Medical Devices. So if you're a company or you have interest in those, I would recommend getting engaged in those groups. A couple other things I wanted to add, I should mention here, is that we have 2 new team members that have just joined AAMI Standards in the Senior Director Standards roles, and they will begin working with the committees very soon. So we are now fully staffed. We've also recently promoted another team member to a director role. So we have full coverage for all of our committees and expect to be making tremendous progress this year. And the other thing I wanted to add, that we are very hopeful that we'll be able to return to in-person meetings soon. We are planned to be virtual at least through the middle of the year, but towards the end of the year, we have some meetings that are planned to be in person. So we'll keep an eye on how things are going, but we do hope to see everybody again very soon. So I wanted to provide a little bit of information about how you can learn more about standards. We have lots of information on the AAMI website. You can find a listing of our committees and the affiliated projects and the staff liaisons. You can also find AAMI standards, policies, and procedures, and some information about our processes. For example, you can find information about the new consensus report development process. A little late reading. We also have our standards monitor online. You can subscribe to it, or you can access it directly from the AAMI website. And this will list out anything that has been newly published from standards, any new projects that were recently approved. It'll also list out our meetings that we have or any documents that are under public review. So if you're interested in that, I would recommend subscribing. You can always pop in and take a look. And any questions you have, feel free to reach out, standards@aami.org, or directly to any of the AAMI Standards staff, and we'll be happy to follow up with you. So I want to thank you for your time today, and we look forward to engaging with you and your colleagues in standards. And now I'd like to turn it over to my colleague, Robert Burrows, Senior Vice President, Training and Education.
Thank you, Amanda. So hello, everyone. I'm Robert Burrows, Senior Vice President, Education, as Amanda just introduced me. And for those of you that don't know, we have responsibility for 3 areas of AAMI activities within education. So we are responsible for our training function. We're responsible for our events, like our conferences and meetings of that sort, not the events that Amanda does for standards. And then we're responsible for certification. So I'm going to speak a little bit to each of those 3 areas and just give you an update on what we're doing this year and what to expect and how you can get involved. So next slide, please. So I'd like to start off speaking a little bit to our training program. And I don't see that slide is advanced yet. So I'll just wait a moment. Could be my computer. See a mouse? There it is. Okay. So for this year, obviously, with the pandemic going on, we have converted all of our core training catalog, courses that we deliver for industry and others, to a virtual delivery format. We did that back in March. And what most folks don't know is we were actually already experimenting with virtual delivery and had offered a number of our core courses as hybrid courses where we had in-person attendance and remote attendance. So we were somewhat ready for this, not as ready as we'd like to be, obviously, but we went from experimenting with hybrid to going fully virtual sort of on a dime. I think it was in a 2-week period we pivoted. So the results of that have been quite good. As it turns out, our CSAT scores, our customer satisfaction scores coming out of those courses are just as high or even higher in some cases than they were in our live classes, which is interesting, but positive, I think. And so we've had very good results. We've had very good attendance And we've tried to do some things to make this work better for virtual attendees. So one of the things you all know from AAMI training is that in addition to the lecture portion and the presentation from of course, excellent AAMI faculty, there are lots of opportunities for breakout groups, case studies, scenario-based learning that revolve around medical devices, obviously. So we made a decision early on to really make this work. We wanted to continue with those activities, but people weren't in the Arlington office to have the device in front of them. So we just mail a device to every single participant in our training programs where one's used in the case studies. So we've been mailing out, instant read thermometers. We've been mailing out EpiPen demo units. We've been mailing out blood pressure cuffs, whatever was used in each individual course. And I would say for a while there, if you wanted an instant read thermometer, the only way to get one was to sign up for AAMI training, because we had a stockpile of them that we would mail out with our courses. So folks were able to get their hands on those devices and interact in a setting much like this, in a Zoom breakout session, and still do their case studies. So that's been very, very positive. I will say it's the same AAMI faculty that everyone is used to, our excellent AAMI faculty. And we're very pleased that despite how busy they are with everything going on, FDA has continued to participate in our training programs, even if we've pivoted to virtual. And by participate, I mean as an instructor in the program. And obviously their staff have also been participating as students in some of those programs, and that continues. We're also addressing multiple time zones in our training. So with virtual training, obviously when people travel to Arlington, they bite the bullet and adjust their body clock and everything's fine. But with virtual training, it's kind of hard to want to get up at midnight or 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever it is. If it's some other part of the world, it's hard to shift around. So we're offering training both in time zones that match the Americas and that can accommodate the West Coast. Just want to make you aware of that. And that's a full slate of classes in the European time zone. Next slide, please. And I will mention all of these, just like our live classes, there's a discount for AAMI members. So when your folks register, please make sure they're using they're logging in as a member, using their registered account and getting that discount displayed and taking advantage of that discount. And if you have bulk purchases, always, of course, reach out to education@aami.org and we'll take care of that as well. So I just brought up here or MJ brought up the list of our catalog courses. We've added some new courses this year around 510K and de novo requirements, lead auditor for management systems and processes. And we've also taken a new approach to training I'm going to speak to a little bit, but I'll just give you a second to peruse this list, and our calendar's on the website so you can go and see when all of these are available. But in addition to these courses, we've started doing, and I was going to use this term internally only and come up with a great marketing term. I haven't done that yet. Somebody used the internal term. We've come up with this idea of doing more pop-up courses, as I call them. I was inspired by pop-up retail, if any of you are familiar with that. But one of the great things about AAMI courses is they're very rigorous, very intense, very comprehensive. But because of the lead time to develop these new core catalog courses and the expense involved, we can't always be as responsive as we wanted to be. So we came up with this idea of pop-up courses, which is to say, if there's content, and go to the next slide, if you would, please. If there's content that's relevant to this community, we want to get that out there as quickly as possible. So what we're doing is partnering with folks like you. Frankly, if any of you have content that you've developed, whether it's a new idea, a deep dive on quality systems processes, whatever it might be, we're partnering with folks like you and AAMI faculty and others to say, if you have content that we need to get in front of this audience, how do we do it quickly? And we partner with that content provider to go through their materials. So we put everything that comes out in one of these pop-up courses through a peer review by AAMI faculty to ensure it's of the quality and rigor that we expect from AAMI training, that you expect from AAMI training. We put it through a peer review. We get any changes or augmentations that might be needed as a result of that peer review. And we get that content out to the market very, very quickly. And this is shorter form content. Some of these are one session. Some of these are a couple of sessions over several days, but we put that out there and get it out to the world. So you can see some of the topics that we've covered in the last year using this new approach to content. These have all happened one time. Some are already repeating based on demand. So check the website and you'll see some more of these. But just as importantly, if you have content that you think is valuable to this community, please let us know and help us be a platform for getting that content out. In addition, if you have a need, please let us know so we can meet that need and hopefully find this content. Next slide, please. I will say it's been interesting. Private training this year has been just absolutely incredible. And we made the decision shortly after I came on a couple of years ago that we were going to focus a lot more on doing custom training for you all, for taking the core competencies we have in training, the core expertise we have, and using that to really bring a custom capability to you in terms of being a training outsourcing partner. That has been a big part of private training, but we also do private training offering our core catalog courses, and that's been very exciting. And those can be off the shelf as they're created now, or they can be tailored or heavily customized for your particular organization. So those are done virtual as well. We build in the client's specific work processes or scenarios to make that really fit like a glove for the particular member. In terms of the custom training that we're doing, we've gone on this journey of identifying some of the best in breed tools out there that we can bring to bear on that. One I want to mention now is Amplifier. It's an adaptive learning platform that we've seen some of our stakeholders begin to adopt. That's sort of unlike anything I've seen before. It's really amazing, based on true brain science, to prove that learning and memory and training is effective. Learning and memory are forming, training is effective. So we're leveraging tools like that. We're looking at more tools. We're using video extensively now in our training. So if you have a custom training, a purely custom, please think of us as a potential provider of that. So next slide. I do want to mention one very special content area that's received a lot of attention. AAMI is participating as a member of the Society for Sterility Assurance Professionals. And Brad Shaner, our VP of Innovation, is on the line and can answer any questions about this during the Q&A. But we're participating in that, and Brad has been leading the effort to support the development of a training program to support their requirements in terms of demonstrating competency under the MDSAP for sterility professionals. You know, how do we actually measure, gauge, train those individuals in to measure and gauge their competency? And Brad has been extensively involved in that, and where you're going to see some new things out of AAMI training in the coming months on this front. So I encourage you to reach out to Brad or ask a question in the Q&A about that. It's a big focus area for us. Next slide. So I will speak to our events. Of course, our AAMI Exchange is our equivalent of our largest annual conference, primarily focused at the HTM community as participants. But of course, you all participate. It may be some of you that are on the phone. It might be others. Certainly, the commercial side, medical device manufacturers participate in that in our expo as exhibitors, as sponsors. Thank you very much for that. As of now, the AAMI Exchange is still on and taking place June 4th to 7th in Charlotte. We're evaluating that each day. So we need to see some progress on opening up. We need to see some changes, or we may have to go to a virtual, but we're fully prepared to do that. If we can't host in person in June safely, we're going to conduct a virtual event. Following that, there's the AAMI International Medical Device Standards and Regulation Conference, better known as ISC, which we're hosting October 19th to 20th here in Arlington. As Amanda mentioned, that's delayed from this earlier portion of the year to the later portion. Surely we'll be in person by then, let's hope, knock on wood. And then we have a new event that we're hosting in combination with IFMB, the International Clinical Engineering and Health Technology Management Conference, ICE HTMC, easy for me to say after only 6 months. So this is a great event, September 28th to 29th. Right now we're accepting or reviewing proposals that have been submitted for that clinical engineering presentations, et cetera. And I'd invite you to visit the website and learn more about that one, especially if you would like to be in Florida, a lovely time of the year. And once again, discounts are available for all members. Next slide, please. On a sort of last note here, I'll just speak to AAMI certifications. Many of these are focused at the HTM community, but those of you who have a servicing part to your organization, certainly please encourage your folks that are running the servicing side of your business to take a look at AAMI certifications. We're really helping the industry to raise the bar on the level of professionalism in that workforce. And our newest certification is the CABT, the Certified Associate in Biomedical Technology, which is an entry-level certification, does not require prior years of experience. It's really a great tool for onboarding new hires and ensuring that they've met a certain level of competency after their onboarding period so that they can be effective members of the workforce. Next slide. Hey, I'm done. All right, so it's my pleasure to introduce Stephanie, who is our VP of Marketing and Communications, about all the stuff that they're doing.
Thanks, Robert. Hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie Risk. I'm delighted to be here today. I started at AAMI exactly a year ago today, so thank you all for coming to my anniversary party. But also, that definitely prevented me from meeting a lot of you in person over the past year, so I'm excited to be here today in this forum. So my goal today is to help you all connect closely with AAMI, stay up to date, and stay in the know with all the things that you just heard about, because it's an awful lot, and we want to help you sort of sort through it and get to the things that matter to you. So next slide. So my first piece of advice is to connect with us on social if you haven't already, or if you just haven't looked in a while. Since about last spring, we've really upgraded our use of social platforms. We're doing a lot more imagery, video, learning content, that sort of thing on our social platforms. And if you join us there, you will be very good company. On LinkedIn, we have over 6,600 folks on our page as followers, but we also run the AAMI community, which has over 13,000 participants. So it's a great place to connect with the overall healthcare technology community. You can also join us on Facebook. We have 6,000 folks over there, 4,500 on Twitter, and a vibrant 1,000 people on Instagram. So we'd love to see you in all those platforms. We are active on all of the platforms every business day. So there's always something new to see there. Next slide. So I'm going to turn to the website for a minute. You might have noticed our website was redesigned last year, early in the spring. We launched the redesign. And since then, we've really been working on sort of a continual set of improvements based on feedback and analytics that we've been getting. So I wanted to highlight a couple of the places where you can get great resources on our website. First is we've really expanded our journalism team over the past year so that we can provide you with daily news updates. We've got a group of freelance writers who are covering all aspects of health technology and sterilization. So every single day, you're going to see a new piece out there. And these updates via the website and AAMI News are included with your membership, highlight a huge diversity of topics and voices in our field, including Q&As and interviews and those sorts of things. So it's definitely something to keep up to date with. Next slide. Hand in hand with our news and journalism efforts is an upgrade recently to our press release activity. So we've got a new news service, and through that, we are able to reach hundreds of millions of potential readers with our press releases. So over the past 4 or 5 months, we've seen coverage in Forbes, Health Dive, Business Insider, Wired, Yahoo Finance, places like that. This is a really important service that we use to share news about the work that you're doing with AAMI. It's a great megaphone, and we want to use it for the work that you're doing with us. So it's a great way to see sort of the very biggest news stories via our press release pages. Next slide. You also can access BINT via our website, although the full journal is hosted on a separate platform. We do highlight the latest articles here on AAMI.org. BINT moved to a continuous publishing model just recently, which means that we publish articles as soon as they're available instead of waiting for the bi-monthly issue to be ready. We got a lot of clear feedback last year. People wanted this research available as soon as possible. They didn't want to keep waiting for weeks and weeks and weeks. So we've made that shift so that you're getting access to everything in a very timely manner. Next slide. And lastly, we sort of have a big diversity of books, reference guides, white papers, and those sorts of things on AAMI.org, including Standards Monitor Online, the industrial sterilization supplements Steve talked about. We have a planned upgrade in the next few weeks that is actually going to create a full sort of searchable product catalog for the first time on AAMI.org instead of only having it in the store where we have it today. This is going to allow you to sort of filter, find these references, find things that are freely available to you as a member, as well as those you can purchase at a discount. So look forward to that upgrade in the next few weeks. Next slide. So this is my pitch. I've never met someone who wanted more email from any organization that I work for. So one of our goals is to get you just the kinds of information and communications from us that you're really interested in, and the way that we can do that and filter that sort of information in advance for you is by having you complete your profile. You can see here, it's just a few quick questions. Click here and there, tell us what you're interested in, what you want to receive from us, and we will eliminate a few items from your inbox. So hopefully that's a good bargain for you. Next slide. And just one last note about reaching out to us on social. So not only is AAMI putting out information, and you can always reach AAMI folks via our emails and customer service and phone, you can also reach out to us on social. So if you have a question, you have a concern about something, feel free to message us, and we will follow up with you that way as well. And that's it for me. Thank you so much for your time. I'm going to pass the mic over to Sabrina.
Good morning again. This is Sabrina Riley, VP of Membership. Thank you to Steve, Amanda, Robert, and Stephanie. I just wanted to take a few moments to review with you your corporate member benefits before we get to the question and answer period. We strongly urge all corporate members and their respective corporate representatives to please leverage, use, access your member benefits. They're here to serve you and to help make you more successful and impactful. If you have any questions about your benefits or who your corporate reps are, please don't hesitate to contact me directly, or you can write to membership@aami.org. But here are a few benefits I just wanted to review. One, of course, is the opportunity to get engaged in standards development. We have over 230 committees and working groups. Amanda gave a great overview of some of the really exciting initiatives that are going to be taking place in that department this year. So we believe that it's a really vital business interest for every member company to have a voice and vote at the standards table. Keep in mind that every company can have one voting member, one alternate, and up to 6 non-voting liaisons per standards committee. Another great benefit of membership is the opportunity to be a leader. If you like to lead and represent the interests of others, we have opportunities for you to chair and co-chair standards committees at the national and international level. We also launched 3 years ago the AAMI Fellow Program, which is an effort to recognize the accomplished members across our global community of close to 10,000 members across 6 core areas. I do want to announce that the AAMI Fellow application deadline is approaching. It is this Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you're interested in applying, information can be found on the AAMI website. And then also another way to be recognized as a leader is to apply for an AAMI award or scholarship. Steve Campbell mentioned the numerous awards that AAMI and the AAMI Foundation make available. So if you're interested in showing us your stuff or that of a colleague, please consider actually next year applying for award. The award process did just close for this year, and the selections are being reviewed now by the awards committee. Of course, Stephanie mentioned all the great ways to stay informed about what's happening in the medical device and health technology field through AAMI News, BINT, and the other AAMI resources, social media. As she mentioned, things are posted there every day. So one of the things that all corporate reps get is 24/7 online access to all AAMI publications and other content. Another very popular member benefit, of course, is the deep discount on the purchase of anything that you buy from AAMI, whether it's a hat, an event registration, an e-subscription. You get a significant discount as a corporate rep. In addition, member companies do receive a discount on exhibiting at the annual exchange and on advertising, sponsorships, and other opportunities. So there are both company and individual corporate representative benefits. Another key benefit of the membership for corporates is the opportunity to gain 24/7 access to AAMI Connect. It is our digital discussion platform for members only. There are hundreds of threads currently underway in that community. You can go in and start a thread. You can add your comments to an existing thread. And what's great about Connect is you can decide how you want activity delivered to your inbox. Do you want it per post? At the end of the day is a daily digest. So that's a really rigorous discussion platform that also includes a digital library where you can download resources and share resources with your colleagues. Of course, AAMI could not do what it does without you sharing your time and talents with us. In addition to participating on standards committees, we are always looking for talented individuals who are interested in possibly serving on the board of directors, the awards committee, the editorial board, the technology management council, and others. So if you're interested in throwing your hat in, there are election cycles, please let us know. any one of us on the leadership team, and we can share more information with you. If you like to write, present, we also have opportunities for content creation, and would love to have you share your expertise with us in some form. Of course, Robert talked about the very rigorous training and education portfolio that AAMI offers, whether it's a public course on topics such as quality systems, regulatory issues. He also mentioned the private customized courses. AAMI can come in to your organization and deliver content that meets your needs. So, in addition to that, all corporate reps receive the member discount when they register for a course, and we do provide member discounts if the company decides to avail themselves of a private customized course. And then lastly, the opportunity to attend global events. He mentioned the ICEH TMC, which is happening in September, the AAMI Exchange in June, fingers crossed, and we have the International Standards Conference that will be taking place in September. And every year we're adding new events and new opportunities for you to connect and meet others across the AAMI global community. So again, any questions about your member benefits, please contact myself or membership. So now we're going to go into the question and answer period of our program today. I want to thank those members who submitted questions in advance. We've flashed a couple up on the screen, and we have a couple that have come through the chat, which hopefully we'll have time to address those. Do keep in mind that we will be sending a completed question and answer document to you at the end of the program with all the questions and responses. So let's go ahead and get started. I'd like Amanda to answer our first question. Amanda, are the standards intended to be aspirational?
Thanks, Sabrina. That's a good question. It really depends on what the standard is. For some organizations, depending on where they are in the evolution of their devices or processes, there might need to be some elevation or adjustment that they need to do to meet the specified requirements that are deemed to be the threshold for effectiveness. However, I would point out that standards are intended to be reasonably practicable. And that's a term that I learned after I came to AAMI, and it means able to be done, reasonably able to be done. And interestingly enough, having a balance of interest categories in the consensus body really helps to ensure that the eventual document is reasonably practicable.
Wonderful. Thank you, Amanda. This question is for Robert. Robert, once the pandemic is past us and AAMI is able to offer in-person training once again, will we still offer virtual training? Are you there, Robert? Okay. You know what we'll wait till Robert comes back on. I'm going to move over to the next question. We'll come back to Robert. Stephanie, would you like to tell us how will the new digital publishing platform make it easier to get content from AAMI?
Sure. So the biggest change that our visitors are going to see from the new platform will be that it will be a one-stop destination for the vast majority of our content. Right now, you want to access BINT, that's on one platform. AAMI News is on another platform. eSubs in Standards is on another platform. And you have to go to our store to actually look through our catalog of publications. The new platform is going to have all of those things in a single place. You'll be able to log in, save the things you like, favorite things, share them, save your trends and searches, those sorts of things. It's going to dramatically reduce the amount of searching around you have to do, and really give you a way to find and see all the content, no matter where it comes from within AAMI, on the topics that you're interested in.
Thank you. And Stephanie, while I have you on, unfortunately, Robert has a frozen connection. One of the questions through the chat is, how far back can members find archived BINT editions or issues?
BINT goes back to 2012
okay.
On the current site. We will maintain that when we transition it to the publishing platform. It will stay all the way back through 2012.
And if a member would like to have a copy prior to 2012, would they be available? Would that be available to them? How would they obtain
Some of them are. Certainly feel free to send us a request. We have PDF copies and sort of archive scans of those kinds of documents. So we'll try to help you out if we can.
Wonderful. Thank you. And thank you to Jonathan for putting that chat that question into the chat. It looks like Robert's back online. Thank you, Robert. I'd love to ask you, Robert, how, once the pandemic is past us and AAMI is able to offer in-person training, will we still be offering virtual training?
Absolutely. So as I mentioned earlier, even before this started, we'd experimented with a hybrid model. So we will continue that when we get back into the classroom and likely have in-person attendance and virtual attendance. And now that the model is so well proven, I expect for private offerings, virtual will continue to be a choice that our private clients make because it allows them to address their global audience without having to bring them together. So yes.
Well, thank you. And while I have you on, the next question is, how does AAMI decide to develop new training topics?
So there's a couple of ways that happens. One of the most important is demand signal from the folks that are on this phone, on this call. So we get requests repeatedly for private training or for custom training that might be a little bit different than what we offer today. Of course, on a custom basis, we'll develop that for a client now with our new direction. But if we get the same request from 2 or 3 people, that's likely to become a core offering of AAMI's. The other way that we do that is by people who want to, so that's kind of the pull signal. The push signal is people who want to offer content. So I mentioned those pop-up courses earlier. And I would once again encourage anyone that's on this call, if you have content that you think would be beneficial to this community, please reach out to us and let us be the platform for getting that out to the community. So a lot of that those content ideas come from the push side, from the people who provide it. And then the third is the folks on this call in terms of staff. We're probably the third priority, but sometimes we have our own ideas. So,
Thank you, Robert. This next question is for Amanda. Amanda, my organization has an idea for a new standard. How do I get that into the AAMI Standards Work Program? Amanda, is Amanda there? She might have had a frozen connection to the way. Okay. Let's go ahead then and skip on a little bit ahead. Here's a question for Stephanie. Stephanie, sometimes it's hard to find content on the AAMI website. Do you have plans to fix that?
Absolutely, I have plans to fix that. So since our redesign, as I mentioned earlier in the year, we definitely had some options or functions on the site that didn't really meet our expectations. One of those, for example, is the search appliance. So we're looking at technical behind the scene ways to make that better. The new digital publishing platform later this year obviously is going to improve your ability to search and find and save things in the long term. So we do have lots of things in place to keep moving and keep improving as one should with a website. And I just wanted to go back and correct what I said about BINT. It was actually 2002 forward that we have online access to BINT. I had a little brain typo on that one. So I wanted to correct the record.
Great, thank you very much. This next question goes to our VP of Innovation, Dr. Brad Shaner. Brad, could you tell us what plans AAMI has to expand its global footprint over the next 2 years?
Sure, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to talk with everyone. I wanted to begin with some conversation about the Society for Sterility Assurance Professionals. I saw that a number of people on the line have sterility assurance in their background, so simply wanted to name this. I've been working, AAMI has helped to stand up the SAP. It is an organization that's designed to be the industry voice, addressing the MD-SAP compendium regulations that industry certify their sterility assurance professionals. What we're doing is working with industry to clarify what that regulation means and communicate that back to regulators. So instead of every single manufacturer having to come up with their own procedure, their own certification process, and to sell that to regulators, instead, this would be kind of a community effort to say, let's define this, make it something that is less cumbersome to industry and is consistent across industry. And so working with quite a lot of industry reps, experts in the field, if you're interested in that, I'd really like to know. You can email me. And Second thing I wanted to name is a lot of our members are developing parts and whole technologies in Mexico and in Costa Rica. Both those countries have big communities of medical device manufacturing. AAMI in Mexico is working with 2 prominent universities, one private and one public, to bring education to their biomedical engineers, as well as their faculty actually, and certifying those folks so that your organizations would have highly skilled staff. Secondly, in Costa Rica, we're working outside of San Jose. There are 3 different medical device manufacturing campuses, and we're bringing courses to those communities as well. Lastly, Robert mentioned that in September we have the International CE and HTM Congress. I sure hope you all attend that. That's going to be a gathering of more than 70 countries worldwide with deep representation. We have over about 330 abstracts already in for that event. That's going to be probably the largest HTM and CE event that has ever been, and AAMI is hosting that at Disney this year. Thank you, Sabrina. Back to you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brad. That sounds exciting and some great locations, great work going on. We got a question from the chat that I think this is maybe best posed to Robert. Robert, if you can hear us. I know we've had a couple of technical difficulties for a few folks, but there he is. Okay. Robert, one of our participants today asked, does AAMI have any plans or initiatives to reduce waste and pollution, such as opting out of paper mail, encouraging renewables, waste reduction at shows, etc.? Would you like to take a stab at that?
Yep, I replied in the chat to this as well, so people can reference that. But absolutely. So we're looking at reducing our print load at conferences. So that means converting things like the conference guidebook, et cetera, to a digital format. We're certainly considering that. And as I read digital and for printed products as well, because people are going to have a single digital point of access to all of those kinds of assets. So it will actually be more convenient to be digital and less convenient to purchase legacy print products. Sabrina, I know you've been working on that as well, reducing our footprint inventory and pushing us towards a more digital posture. So I don't know if there are other things happening in operations that Steve might speak to, but there's a lot going on this front.
Yes, no, thank you, Robert. Just to add to that, any member who, so the membership team has pivoted out of sending, we used to send hard copy renewals. We are now doing that digitally via email in PDF format. So we don't send those to them through the mail anymore. We are still sending new member welcome kits through the mail because there are things that we want you to physically receive. But in addition, any member who would like to opt out of receiving hard copy snail mail from AAMI can do so. You can just send a quick email to membership@aami.org and say, please opt me out of print. And we'll go ahead and make a note of that in your record. And you will no longer be receiving print. So that is possible. But as Robert said, this is a constantly evolving and growing initiative for AAMI to reduce waste and pollution. So thank you for that response, Robert. It looks like Amanda has come back on. The question at the top she did respond to indicated that we have 2 new senior directors that were just hired and started this past Monday, as well as some internal promotion of our existing team. So we'll skip over that. And Amanda, if you wouldn't mind responding to this question. Our company already participates in standards, but has new employees who eventually want to become voting representatives for the company. How can they monitor the company's standards work until they are ready to assume an official role?
Okay, well, thanks for that question, and thanks to those of you who are thinking ahead about succession planning and getting new future standards experts into the pipeline. I do want to let you know that AAMI standards committee meetings are open to the public, so you don't have to be a member of that particular working group or committee to attend the meeting and observe the proceedings. We also recommend that companies internally discuss draft documents and collaboratively develop comments and other feedback on the drafts. So that way you can give your new professionals some connection to what these documents that are under development mean for your company and involve them in contributing to the response. And as always, AAMI staff are happy to discuss the activities that are underway. So anybody can feel free to reach out to us at any time and get some information.
Thank you very much. I do see we're at the top of the hour at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and so we have concluded the program. We have answered all the questions in the chat and the ones on the screen. As I'd like to, again, remind everyone, we will be sending out a question and answer document for you, as well as links to all of the content that was discussed today, in addition to the recording to today's program. So on behalf of all of AAMI and our leadership team, I want to thank you for taking time to be with us today. It's been a pleasure, and hope to see you in person very soon. Please stay safe and healthy, and thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Have a great rest of your
Thank you,
week.
everyone.